Dinosaurs are back. And no, I don't mean that they've evolved into birds or anything like that. I mean that scientists have managed to sequence the first dinosaur genome. Not just any dino, but a horned dinosaur called Triceratops, which roamed what is today the western United States about 76 million years ago. They did this by analyzing bits of preserved skin and feathers found at a single site in Montana in 2009. And this ancient genetic material has revealed some surprising things about our planet's history, like the fact that birds actually evolved from a group of theropod dinosaurs, which includes Velociraptor and Tyrannosaurus rex. But it's also got people wondering if we could bring these animals back to life. So let's talk about how this research was done, what it means for our understanding of dinosaurs, and what it means for our chances of seeing Jurassic Park become reality. Bringing back dinosaurs might sound far-fetched, but there's a lot of science behind it. That's where paleontologists found the fossilized remains of a horned dinosaur, one that would eventually be classified as a new species named Triceratops prorsus. It was during the process of cleaning and removing rock from the fossil that one of the researchers realized something was different. This wasn't just a regular old dino fossil. There was something soft and dark stuck to the skull, and when they brushed it off, they found that it was a piece of skin. It was only about 1 square millimeter, but that tiny sample contained the well-preserved imprints of cells which still had their nuclei and the genetic material inside them. What's more, another part of the fossil was covered in hundreds of little feather impressions. And with all these samples of ancient tissue, the researchers were able to extract traces of ancient DNA. It took over a decade to figure out how to analyze these samples, though. DNA degrades pretty quickly, especially after a species goes extinct and leaves behind no living relatives to preserve it. But in 2023, a team of scientists announced that they'd successfully sequenced the first ever dinosaur genome. And what they found was that birds are indeed related to theropod dinosaurs like Velociraptor and T. rex. Now, while the study's lead author, a paleogenomics expert, and his colleagues were able to fill in some blanks about dinosaur evolution, this kind of analysis isn't perfect. Like many other extinct species before it, the Triceratops genome is pretty fragmented. Instead of a nice continuous strand, the genetic material that they recovered was more like a pile of broken glass. And that makes sense. After all, the Triceratops lived 76 million years ago, and its genetic material has been through quite the journey since then. To put it bluntly, even if scientists figured out how to assemble the whole genome, which is already impressive, they wouldn't be able to make a dinosaur from it because DNA is a lot like baking. A recipe you find on the internet contains instructions for making a cake. But you can't simply dump a printout of that recipe into a bowl and expect something edible to come out. You'll need to gather all the individual ingredients, mix them together in the right amounts, and follow a detailed set of instructions. Similarly, to make a dinosaur, scientists would need to fill in the gaps in the fragmented DNA sequence and figure out how to use it as an instruction manual for building a living, breathing animal. And we're not talking about adding a cup of flour or something. We're talking about filling in millions of missing base pairs, the A's, T's, G's, and C's, that make up the building blocks of DNA. Then they'd need to add all the non-genetic information that's necessary for turning a pile of DNA into a baby dino. And that's information that's stored in structures like mitochondria and chloroplasts. And even if they manage all that, getting the first dinosaur embryo wouldn't be the end of the road. To create a viable population, scientists would need to bring multiple dinosaurs into the world and make sure that they're healthy enough to reproduce. It's doable, but it's going to take some time. In the meantime, though, scientists are able to use the dinosaur genome to learn all kinds of cool stuff about the animals that roamed the Earth before the asteroid impact. For example, this new study found that feathered dinosaurs like Ankylosaurus and Boreopeltacus may have had more feathers than previously thought, and that they likely looked more like owls than alligators. Scientists can also use the ancient DNA to get a sense of how dinosaurs evolved and what kinds of traits gave them a survival advantage. In the case of Triceratops, the researchers found a genetic variant related to metabolism that seems to have appeared after the asteroid killed off the dinosaurs. Since they didn't find that variant in any other dinosaurs, they think it may have helped the animals survive drastic changes to their environment. And this is just the beginning. Eventually, scientists hope to use this technology to paint a clearer picture of dinosaur biology and behavior, and better understand what life was like on Earth before the mass extinction event 66 million years ago. But putting aside the technical limitations for a moment, is bringing back dinosaurs even possible? The short answer is probably not. At least not in the way that Hollywood has led us to believe. For starters, you'd need a lot more than just DNA. To clone an animal, scientists typically extract the genetic material from a cell of the animal they want to clone, then insert it into an egg cell whose nucleus has been removed from another cell. The egg cell is then stimulated to divide, and the resulting embryo is implanted into a surrogate, which carries the pregnancy to term. But to do this with a dinosaur, scientists would first need to figure out which species they want to bring back. Would it be a Brachiosaurus, a Stegosaurus, a Compsognathus? And would they try to recreate one of the animals whose genome has been sequenced, or go for something a little less famous? Second, they'd need to find suitable egg cells and surrogates. Unfortunately, none of the animals that are close enough relatives of dinosaurs to donate an egg cell or act as a surrogate are alive today. That's because the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event wiped out around 75% of all plant and animal species on Earth, including pretty much every dinosaur. It also wiped out a bunch of other animals like ichthyosaurs and pliosaurs, which were large marine reptiles. And finally, it devastated bird populations so badly that only about 10% of extant bird species survived. That means there aren't a lot of options for finding a suitable host for a clone dinosaur. And finally, there's the matter of ethics. Even if scientists figured out all the technical details and assembled the complete genome, should they try to bring dinosaurs back? Should they try to bring dinosaurs back? Would it be ethical to clone a dinosaur and raise it in captivity? If not, why not? If so, what kind of life would that animal have? And who gets to decide whether or not it's okay to bring a dinosaur back? These are difficult questions without easy answers. And unfortunately, science fiction has not given us a lot of guidance. I mean, Jurassic Park proposed one way to bring dinosaurs back, by inserting dinosaur DNA into frog eggs, but the idea doesn't really hold up. At best, this approach would result in a mosaic creature that had some dinosaur-like features, but it wouldn't be a true dinosaur. That's because frogs and dinosaurs are too distantly related. Their genetic material is too different for that kind of genetic engineering to work. And what's more, the idea relies on the flawed premise that it's possible to assemble a complete dinosaur genome from scratch. Now, science has advanced since Jurassic Park came out in 1993. Researchers have gotten better at extracting and sequencing ancient DNA, and they've gotten better at using genetic engineering tools like CRISPR-Cas9 to edit genes. But these tools weren't around back then, and they haven't made the idea of recreating dinosaurs any more realistic. Cloning a dinosaur would require a combination of cutting-edge genetic engineering and paleogenomics, plus a deep understanding of how to turn genetic material into a functioning organism. But it would also require filling in a lot of blanks. To put it in perspective, scientists have managed to sequence the genomes of a few species that are more closely related to dinosaurs than birds are, like crocodiles and alligators. But even with these species, they haven't been able to produce offspring using the genetic material they've extracted, and that's because the process of creating offspring is complicated. You can't just take two pieces of DNA and put them together to make a baby. There are a lot of other factors at play. For example, scientists don't know how to edit genes in ways that preserve across millions of years of evolution. So it's unlikely that they'd be able to edit alligator DNA to look and behave like a dinosaur. And even if they could, they'd need to consider whether it's ethical to do so. And besides, there's another reason why Jurassic Park is unlikely to happen anytime soon. Even if scientists manage to assemble a complete dinosaur genome and figure out how to edit crocodile DNA to resemble dinosaur DNA, they'd need to find a way to grow a viable population of dinosaurs. But it's unlikely that they'd be able to do that without upsetting the balance of the ecosystem. And it's not clear whether that would be worth the risk. In fact, scientists have estimated that introducing dinosaurs into the modern world could cost us billions of dollars in damages. And that's assuming that the dinosaurs don't pose a threat to human health or safety. All things considered, it's probably best that dinosaurs remain extinct. And if they did come back, it's probably best that they came back in the form of fossils, not living creatures. Thank you for watching this episode. We've made thousands of educational videos over the years, and we've been able to offer them for free because of our patrons. So to all of our patrons, thank you for what you do to make this happen. If you're not a patron but you want to learn more about what that means, you can visit our support page.